According to this man here, uh, Canada team, your Canadian Security Service coming under my investigation from March 4th actually, got sent it yesterday, which is I was going to send it yesterday, but coming today. You are under investigation, Canadian Security Service, for lawsuit against your government in Canada and against your department for national emergency space attacking your government in Ottawa, which is coming. God want this information going to the world breaking news to all receive that. God will release in this space attack to your department, Canadian Security Service, and your government in Ottawa, Quebec, Ontario, Montreal, which is the shaking your country, according to a space God side. This coming for the great shaking, according to the God releasing this angel by space coming for windstorm, which is already happening, windstorm in your country here in Ontario. This information God want you receive that your department, Canadian Security Service, you are under you are under criminal investigation by me for what you did cause behind my future in your country, and I have lawsuit against your department, Canadian Security Service, to bring by space to tsunami 8.7 in your capital city, Ottawa, which is not only one earthquake. I understand 7 to tsunami coming to your country from Quebec, from Ottawa to Quebec, Montreal, Ottawa, Nova Scotia, Saint John, Newfoundland to the city coming. God make decision to that city. So this information coming to you, God want you receive that. This is coming by windstorm to the Ontario first, by lighting, to bring in my investigation to your department, Canadian Security Service, from March 4th.
Whoa!
According to this man, he will bring it blackout to your department, Canadian Security Service, unknowing time for long time in Canada. And God want you receive that Canadian Security Service, you come in under my investigation to bring in your government on the international world news, because God want to bring your department on the international court in the world. Receive that by this tsunami, which is happening in Japan, earthquake, to your capital city, Ottawa. God want to bring your department on the international court, Canadian Security Service, to would receive that this 7 tsunami earthquake coming to your capital city, to 7 city, which is space. God want this information going to news here. This is a God, and this is a Toronto. So God want to would receive that you are under investigation, Canada team, for major blackouts in Ottawa, Quebec, Ontario, Montreal, to halt in your system in your country coming by windstorm and lightning from the sky.
On Friday evening, March 3, snow falls as thunder and lightning hit Toronto in a major winter snowstorm that battered much of southern Ontario, Canada. Lightning could be seen brightening the skies as snow poured down over the city. Residents soon began to upload photos and videos of the phenomenon. There were reports of the CN Tower being struck by lightning.
CN Tower, which is you have in Toronto, have been lighting few times, but I must send it to news. This man want to break down that CN Tower you have in Toronto. That CN Tower in Toronto will completely crack it down and fall by a space earthquake coming that part, because God want to bring your department, Canadian Security Service, on the international court news under my investigation from Ottawa, your capital city, Parliament, by 8.7 earthquake to tsunami to Quebec, which is the heat into Ontario coming by lighting warning stop coming, they say holding your country under this lighting and basically heavy snow rain coming or blackouts and bringing your basically this going to happen. God want bring your department under my investigation, Canadian Security Service, whoever was from, you can say from few culture you have, Muslim or this culture or that culture, all coming on the breaking news after this earthquake coming to your capital city, Ottawa. God told to you prepare for my investigation to your department, Canadian Security Service, by major tsunami coming to your country from March 4th, 2023, because I have lawsuit against your department, Canadian Security Service, for $700 trillion. I discharge you, and I must prove this information in the world news, according to this man, by Japan earthquake to your capital city, Ottawa, which is happening here. This information must go to YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Many received that. Government of Canada coming on the emergency from Ottawa, all their building to the Quebec, Ontario, especially all those building coming on the breaking board news. God want investigating my investigation to this department, Canadian Security Service, by lawsuit to bring force to their government by earthquake to tsunami from March 4th happening. Even 9.3 earthquake will happening in the capital city, Ottawa, and to forcing the government to bring this Canadian Security Service on the international court. God one lawsuit against this department to bring in the world breaking news on the lawsuit by space, under my investigation for lawsuit by space to tsunami earthquake coming 8.7 to 9.3. And to forcing your government, Canada, to bring your department on the international courts. God want to investigation to your department, Canadian Security Service, by major to tsunami coming, by earthquake. After this windstorm.
Toronto residents can expect about 2 to 3 inches of snow per hour, and winds of up to 45 miles per hour at peak times. In total, Toronto is expected to receive around 16 hours of snowfall. Toronto authorities said there were numerous vehicles getting stuck and urged motorists to stay off the roads. The weather agency said surfaces like highways, roads, walkways, and parking lots could become difficult to navigate because of accumulated snow. Environment Canada strongly discouraged non-essential travel due to dangerous conditions. All city-operated community recreation centers will be closed tomorrow, and all programs will be cancelled. The city announced on Friday evening that clearing work would be required by next week. Thundersnows are most common in the Great Lakes region, because cold air blowing across the relatively mild water of the Great Lakes forces the air upwards rapidly enough that the instability causes lightning and thunder, in conjunction with heavy snow.
God want you receive that, your department, Canadian Security Service, you are under my investigation for $700 trillion, if it's not $70,000 trillion, God attacking. $700 trillion, I have lawsuit against your department, Canadian Security Service, which is God releasing this from now to bring in your government under force and under my investigation. Because the space God want to bring in major blackouts in your capital city, Ottawa, to Quebec, Ontario, Montreal, to Nova Scotia, by angel coming to bring in windstorm and lighting from the sky for major blackout, which is this blackout become major trouble, according to the information I have, to bring in your department under my investigation from March 4th, 2023. This is the war coming to your country, Canadian Secret Service, to bring your department on the international courts and the news to investigation to your building in the Ottawa to 7 city by 8.7 to 9.3 earthquake is on the way to coming to your city, your capital city, which is the beginning. God is starting that by lighting, and you must believe this lighting will cost, according to this man here, I bring it to you here, this lighting soon, they are going to black out, holding your Ontario to the Quebec, all over, be black out on the investigation to bring in your department under my investigation, Canadian Secret Service, from March 2023.
On Friday evening, March 3, snow falls as thunder and lightning hit Toronto in a major winter snowstorm that battered much of southern Ontario, Canada. Lightning could be seen brightening the skies as snow poured down over the city. Residents soon began to upload photos and videos of the phenomenon. There were reports of the CN Tower being struck by lightning.
The CN Tower, according to this man, you built in Toronto will be destroyed, Mr. According to the information he sent, got released in this to tsunami by 8.7. They will break down that tower in city in Ontario, Toronto, completely crack it down that fall. So you are under investigation, your department, Canadian Secret Service. I have lawsuit against your department to bring in the international world news, can receive that to forcing your government from here to bring you on the court. International court news, God want to bring in your department by blackout, major blackout, and 8.7 and 9.3 earthquake to your capital city, Ottawa, Ontario, Quebec, Montreal, hitting to the Nova Scotia by tsunami is coming very soon. And this information must go to many parts to receive that, ladies and gentlemen. God have a plan to bring in government of Canada under my investigation from March for major earthquakes is going to happen to their country after the Turkey earthquakes. Which is this earthquake will cost your building here, which is this earthquake will cost your building coming this in Ontario, in Ottawa. God want to raise the third war to your country, to your government, Canadian Secret Service, to bring in your building to 7 city under my investigation for lawsuit against your country, against your department, not against your country, against your department, by 8.7, 9.1, 9.3 earthquake, 7.7 earthquake coming, by 8.7 earthquake, as I told, is coming to hit, 9.1, 9.3, all this earthquake coming to bring in your department under my investigation, which is costing your department in the Ottawa coming for this. Your building coming under this investigation, which is, you can see that here, by Angel Windstorm, which is happening here already.